what's good, y'all? Welcome to my review for Andor Season 2, man. And man, what a season this was, man. Absolutely incredible stuff, man. Yeah, now you guys may remember that when Season 1 came out, like, I obviously loved Andor, I loved it, but I definitely was not nowhere near as into it as everyone else was, seemingly. Like, everybody loved Andor, man. It was like, definitely, if you ask me what's the favorite thing from Disney's Star Wars since, Disney took over, a lot of people probably say this, or Mandalorian, or, Rogue One. This would be up there, man. Everybody loved Andor. They're like, yes, this is like the best thing Disney's put out for Star Wars, man. Everyone was singing its praises. I loved the show too, but it did come that I wasn't as in love with it as everyone else was. That was me with Obi-Wan for my own personal reasons, because, because I grew up with the prequels. I love those movies. I love Obi-Wan. So on. Now, for Season 2, I feel like that's probably going to be the same, but man, Season 2, man, was fucking brilliant, man. If you ask me, like, which one do I obviously prefer Season 2 over Season 1, man. There was a lot, though I will say it's a little bit, that definitely, I feel this one was a bit more inconsistent or a bit iffy, because, like, it started up pretty good with episode 1, episode 2 and 3, I wasn't as into. 4 through 6, I definitely was kind of just like really not into those episodes, and like and also big shout out to Star Wars Theories, man. Shout out to that dude, Star Wars Explained, rather, excuse me, to get Star Wars Theories, man. But he's great. He's a cool Star Wars YouTuber as well. Although I know he's pretty controversial for whatever reason. I don't delve in the Star Wars fan, but I enjoyed his content, man. At least when I was watching his video. I don't really watch him anymore, but then again, I don't really watch any Star Wars YouTubers. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Shout out to Star Wars Explains videos. He does like reviews for his reviews on the episodes, man. Shout out to him, man, because you guys may remember, and I mentioned this in my first impression, this continued on into the second batch of episodes, that I was honestly completely lost in what was happening, man, and I just could not get invested in the show. I'm like, and half the time I'm just wondering, what the fuck is happening? What is going on with this show? So shout out to him, man. His explain videos explain everything that's going on, man, giving you the backstory from Season 1 or whatever other shit from, from the canon or side stuff you need to know to, like, explain this stuff better. He got me focused in there, man. So shout out to him, man. He definitely saved me when it came to Andor, man, because like I said, I was really lost watching something like this. It's been just so long since Season 1. And you guys know me, I'm a very casual Star Wars fan. I don't really pay attention to the EU all that much. So shout out to him, man. He saved my ass. So shout out to Star Wars Explained, man, and his reviews that he did for Andor, man. So yeah, shout out to him, man. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, like but then the last 6 episodes, man, were fucking brilliant. These are probably 6 episodes. These like last 6 episodes were probably my favorite episodes of Andor, like, period. Honestly, man, like, such great television, man. So many twists and turns, man, and amazing moments, man. Especially that one, like, the battle sequence in episode 9, which apparently is like, that's one of like the most highest rated episodes at IMDb right now, is episode 9 of Andor Season 2. Deservedly so. I say that was easily that might have been my favorite episode of Andor. I might be a little iffy with some of the other episodes, man, but that was definitely up there. If that was number 1, it was definitely up there in terms of my favorite episodes for Andor. But yeah, anyway, guys, I've rambled on long enough. Let's get right into the actual review. So the show stars Diego Luna, Andrea Ohana, if I'm pronouncing her name right, Denise Gorge, Faya Marseille, if I'm pronouncing it right, Stellan Skarsgård, and many more in the plot of Andor, the story of a rebel spy casting Andor's formative years in of the rebellion and his difficult missions for the cause. Now, once again, like I mentioned, Andor Season 1 in my first impressions. The cast is great. Diego Luna is great as Andor, and that once continues on here. Adriana as Bix was great as well, man. I really liked her. Denise, I don't know how you pronounce her name, as Dedra, man, she was incredible, man. Like, I love what they did with Dedra's character, which we'll talk about more as we go through the show, and we'll talk a little bit more in the spoiler discussion. But I really like what they did with Dedra, man. She was great, man, especially in, like, episode 8, I want to say. No, episode 10. That episode, man, she absolutely shines. That episode, man, she was fantastic. Stellan Skarsgård, once again, is great as Luthen. He was great, man, and he was always a joy to see on screen. Now, one thing that I definitely had to mention, I think I might mention in my first impressions as well, but I'm not entirely sure. One of the two things that I think Andor excels at the most when it comes to, like, with this show, man, is without a doubt the set design as well as the wardrobe. The set design of the show is fantastic. Like, obviously, you guys know the show famously did not use the volume. They did everything on location, on real sets and whatnot, man. So, and people have been kind of going on about the volume, like, oh, fuck the volume, all this looks better, because it's like on location, whatnot. I like the volume, man. I don't really got a problem with the use of the volume. I don't know why everyone's got such beef with the volume. I'm not entirely sure what's the beef with the volume, man, because I think it's pretty cool tech. But, whatever the case may be. Obviously, the show being on location definitely helps, man, with terms of their shots and everything, man. And it looks just amazing just to see the sets that they constructed for the show, man. And you can just see, look at the backdrops of various planets we get to visit, man. It looks fantastic, man, and it looks amazing. The wardrobe and costumes in this show, man, is also spectacular. I love all the various outfits we see the characters in. Like I mentioned before, I like how they show off suits in Star Wars with like the little without even having that little hole in like the middle of their suit and like their dress shirts, man. Mon Mothma's various outfits she's wearing during her as a senator, man, are fantastic. There's just so many great. The wardrobe in the show is just spectacular all across the board, man. There's so many amazing outfits and fits in the show, man, and it's just a spectacular. I will not be surprised. I don't know if Andor season this happened with Andor season 1 as well, but I would not be surprised if Andor season 2 gets nominated for like best costume and wardrobe for the Emmys this year, and it wins it, man, which it definitely deserves to, man, because the costume and wardrobe in this episode, man, was absolutely sensational. So yeah, that's the music. I was gonna say is great as well, man, especially in the last 6 episodes, man. That's when the soundtrack really shines, man. And I do like that they do show off they do play like the classic Star Wars theme, or at least a classic John Williams Star Wars song in the end credits for the final episode, which I thought was a nice little touch there, because obviously leads into Rogue One and A New Hope, which I did like. Now let me answer. This is something I forgot to mention earlier in the video, but I must mention it now. You guys may remember that, I was kind of hoping that Felicity would show up, man, and we get to see some more of the Rogue One cast in this show, man. Maybe around the tail end of season 2, we got to see more of the Rogue One cast and make some more, they get some quick cameos before, we go right into Rogue One. Unfortunately, nobody outside of what we saw in the trailers from Rogue One is in the show, man. We don't see Felicity. We don't see anyone else, which I was a little disappointed with, because I was kind of hoping we'd at least get to see Felicity. She get maybe like a cameo appearance, during the final episode. But we did in the final episode, but that didn't happen. But they do the thing that I was kind of hoping they would do, where you guys remember how Rogue One led directly into A New Hope? They kind of do that into Rogue One as well, which I thought was nice. Not fully, because it doesn't literally lead directly into Rogue One like we saw with Rogue One and New Hope, but they more or less have them basically directly connected and basically flow right into the other, where Andor is sent on a mission at the end of the series, and we see him fly off, and that's where the credits roll. Now, which I'm assuming is the same mission we see him that he already went on when we first get introduced to him in Rogue One. I'm not entirely sure if it's the same mission, like the same plan and everything, man, because obviously you guys know I'm not a Star Wars EU lore expert or whatnot, man. It's been a while since I've seen Rogue One, but I'm assuming it's the same mission that we see we see him in the opening of Rogue One. So I'm assuming that's Rogue One. So I'm assuming this does lead directly into Rogue One, which I was happy they at least did that. Like I said, I would have liked to see Felicity make an appearance, man, but unfortunately, no dice on her, man, which does kind of suck, because I was really kind of hoping, if anyone else from Rogue One was going to show up in this show, man, I was really hoping it would be her, but that is not the case, man. K2SO, man, which we see him in the tail end, the last 5 episodes or so, I want to say. Maybe 4. He's great, man. He was a show stealer in Rogue One, and that continues on with this show, man. Now, interesting thing. This is something I did not know about, or at least I might misconstrue something. Apparently, they actually retconned in this show, man, how Cassian and K2SO met, because apparently there was actually a comic that was released showing you how K2SO and Andor originally met, but that is retconned into the actual show, changing the way they met. Now, this isn't the first time the Andor show has retconned the continuity when it comes to Andor, because there was apparently, this is all from shorts, it's all from Star Wars Explained, for an old encyclopedia that they released, I'm assuming after Rogue One ever released, before Andor started up. In that encyclopedia, they obviously give you all the characters and where they're from and whatnot, and apparently in that encyclopedia, Andor's homeworld was different from what we see in the actual Andor show, and that was retconned to be like that plan that was in that encyclopedia was actually a cover story for Andor. While this is his real one, they apparently did the same thing with this one with K2SO, where that was actually like a cover story of how they met, and this is how they actually met apparently. Which, to be fair, if I'm remembering and getting my details right, that is a pretty clever way to like retcon something. I would say in Star Wars, be like, oh, that was the cover story. Here's the real one. I thought that was pretty clever. That was indeed the case, man. But I figure I mentioned because that was something interesting I found out. From Star Wars Explains. Anyway, so one other thing I gotta say that I also loved about the show, man, is Dedra. I love what they did with their character, man. Like, you guys remember this, I mentioned this I'm pretty sure I mentioned my first impressions, was like, she's now in together with the dude that we see from the tie that's with his mom from season 1. I forget the dude's name. And they they're like together now, and I really dig these two, man. To jump ahead a little bit in my review, one problem I do wish that I have with the show, and that I wish we saw, I wish we got to see these two actually like get together, like during the time, because these are both such polar opposite characters. Like Dedra is this super stern, serious Imperial, I forget what the division she's called, what position she's from. It's slipping. I literally just finished the show and it's already slipping my mind. But whatever the case may be, like, this stern Imperial leader, well, this dude's just some schmuck pencil pusher in an office job that doesn't stick up for himself. You know what I mean? His mom's bitching at him all the time, man. And it's kind of funny, and then they see a little both they have together when they're already together, and it's really cool, man. I dig it. They have a really fun dynamic. I wish we got to see how these two actually got together, because these are like the last two characters you would expect to be in a relationship at all. I'm sure they'll probably get explained in some novel or something, man. Maybe a comic if we're lucky. But that I thought was pretty funny. I honestly wish that we got to see these two actually actually get together in the show rather than all that being off screen. Because I think that would have been pretty fun and entertaining. The cinematography I think for this show is great, man. Especially in the last 6 episodes. I think that's what it really shines. There's like this one flashback sequence I think was also shot really well, man, that I really dug. As I mentioned before, one other thing I did like what they did with the show, man, is Dedra's boyfriend. I forget the dude's name. But I really like what they do with his character, man, where he's like kind of like almost like a spy for the Empire, having to go into these mini rebellions that we see in the earlier parts of the episode in this planet that they're on, and he's like getting into them, trying to figure out what's going on, reporting back to the Empire, and he's like, ooh, he feels like he's like in a spy movie, and he that people are actually listening in on him. He's like, ooh, this is important. I feel important, And I really dig with these characters, especially when we see them in the last, I want to say, episode 8 and 9, man, and this might have all been in episode 9, where he does some pretty crazy shit, which I also won't get into deep into spoilers, man, but I thought that was really cool what they did with that, man, what they did with his character in the middle to the late parts of Andor season 2, man. He was also my favorite character of the show, man. I enjoyed him in season 1. It was good to see him in season 2 as well, man. Kind of wish he got a little bit more screen time, not gonna lie, but he was fun for what we got. There's also this one sequence we'll save that for the spoilers question. One other thing I really like about this show, man, is that definitely a big theme about this show is definitely trust, and we get to see how Luthen doesn't really trust anybody. He keeps everyone at arm's reach. At arm's length rather, and you get to see what distrust can do, and as we see the rebellion, slowly getting going, slowly growing and evolving to the rebellion we see in the original trilogy in Rogue One. And we see a slow process of that's going on there with Luthen and whatnot. Like I mentioned before in episode 2 and 3, we see rebels that are distrustful of each other and then split off into separate teams and fight off against each other, doing rock, paper, scissors and whatnot, man. That was whole thing, man. You got this really interesting sequence with Luthen and his Imperial source that he has over there in Dedra's unit. Which I won't get into spoilers, but that sequence I thought was really cool as well. And yeah, I think that was really cool how they did that whole sequence, man. Forrest Whitaker's character, man, he's once again fantastic. He was great in Andor season 1. He was great in Rogue One, and it continues on here, man. I love this one sequence where he is I don't know I forget exactly what the hell he was doing, but I think he was trying to mine something or get something that the Empire were trying to smuggle in or whatnot. That's poisonous gas apparently, or something or something along those lines, man. And he somehow convinces this dude to take his mask off to breathe in the air of this man. Breathe it, that is freedom. And I love, he's like, you're here, you're right here, and you're ready to fight. revolution is not for the sane. Like, that whole sequence, man, was one of my favorite parts of Andor Season 2, man. I love that one, and Forrest Whitaker plays him beautifully, man. He's fucking awesome, man. That was one of my favorite moments in Andor Season 2, was that whole little moment he has with this random guy he has on his team, tell him, like, that this is freedom, revolution is not for the sane. Oh man, that was such a great sequence, man. I think that's about everything I could talk about without getting into spoilers, man. There's also this one heist sequence we see in episode, I want to say 4, it might have been episode 5. That thing was really well done as well, man. There's a whole part of that episode that was like, God, that was another one of my favorite parts of the show, man, which I'll obviously save that for a sports discussion. Now, let's get into some of the negatives I had with Andor Season 2. Now, obviously the big one, this is something I mentioned in my first impressions of Andor Season 2 as well, was the whole thing about the Imperial guy trying to rape Bix. And, Star Wars Theory made a tweet saying that it said that sexual assault, that rape has no place in Star Wars, and Vader wouldn't, condone this, etc., which it seems like that actually was somehow a controversial take, because I've been seeing, occasionally see videos probably recommended about that where that tweet's been used or whatever, talk about Star Wars Theory about that tweet. I did not think that would be that controversial, but okay, whatever. Which you guys know I mentioned in my video, I do kind of agree with, man. I don't know. I feel like if this was some random, said somewhere random in Star Wars, some random, Outer Rim world, and we were following a group of scoundrel bounty hunters and this happened, it probably wouldn't bother me. But with it dealing with the Empire and stuff George himself created, man, I don't know, it does make me feel a little iffy, and I feel like it didn't need to go that far. Again, this is a mature and darker show and whatnot, man, but yeah, I'm kind of with the Star Wars Theory on that, man. I feel that was I'm a little iffy about. But also, I also mentioned I kind of wish they did more with Deetra and her boyfriend, how they got together, man. I wish that was shown on screen, man. And I also, and this is definitely probably more of a me problem, but I definitely wish this show was a bit more detailed and, maybe did a little bit more explaining about, where we're at, because, like I said, man, you guys know, I briefly forgot it, because of how the massive gap between Andor Season 1 and Season 2, I was very lost for the opening, 6 episodes. Like I said, I had to go watch Star Wars Explains video to ground me and get me to explain everything to get me back into the flow of, okay, this is what happened, this is everything that's going on, okay, now I'm caught up to speed, because obviously, man, I was lost. Yeah, you get the little, previously, little intros in there, but I do wish they kind of a little bit more detail. They explain some stuff a little bit better or something, man. I wish they did more to remind people what happened in Season 1 into Season 2, because there was such a massive gap. But that's also probably more of a me problem, if I'm being honest, man. So, that. But yeah, and I think that's about everything in terms of negatives I have with the show, man. That I want to mention, man, that I can think of. Obviously, it would be nice. And also, one other thing I want to quickly talk about real quick as well. You guys remember that, I believe it was the director of Andor Season 2 had mentioned that there were going to be some recasts or whatnot, man. Certain characters he wanted to bring in the show, he couldn't because of scheduling conflicts or what. Now, when I saw that tweet, man, I'm pretty sure I mentioned in my first impressions as well. I straight up thought he was talking about Rogue One characters, but apparently, no, that meant the prequel, because one of the characters we see, one of the other senators we see that was in the prequels as well, I forget the dude's name, the actor that plays him, but he's in Mi Familia, and he's also apparently in Dexter as well. He ended up getting recast for the showman, which I didn't even realize until, Star Wars Explained pointed out that he was recast. They're like, oh yeah, shit, I forgot about him. So, yeah, he got recast well. The new guy, I think, played some great, man. But yeah, that was kind of shocking to see that, because I thought he was talking Rogue One characters. I didn't think he mean prequel characters in general, but I think that was the only one, at least that I can remember, or that I noticed. Anyway, guys, I think that's all I got for you guys before we get into spoiler discussion, man. So, give my guys my final verdict, and then we'll end the video off there. So anyway, guys, overall I give Andor Season 2 a 9.5 out of 10, guys. And like I said, we'll get into spoiler discussion now, so you guys do not want to get spoiled, leave. Now, let's talk about let's talk about one of the many things I liked. That little heist sequence we got in episode, I want to say it was 4 or 5, man, was really good. This definitely sells the whole thing about distrust within the rebellion, how, dysfunctional and unorganized it is, how it's all small little pockets of rebellion, not the full-blown rebellion we see in the original trilogy, and we see it's kind of, like I said, it's an evolution throughout the movies. One thing I thought was really cool about that was like you got this whole thing going on there, man. The heist starts to go awry a little bit, man. Random civilians start going in there and getting weirdly nosy, man. And like this one guy who was like told not to bring his blaster, brings his blaster anyway, and ends up like he has a little tussle with a civilian, and ends up getting one of the other members of the heist gets him shot. One of like their top, one of like I think it was like one of their leaders or one of their top soldiers, and the woman who and one of the other women there that I'm assuming was a commander, just rails this dude. He makes him she makes sure he knows just how badly he fucked up shooting her, man. And she just rails him, man. She just buries this dude, man, like Triple H did to Booker T in 2002, man. It was not a pretty sight. She just goes in on him, man, and just buries him, man. It was like, god damn. Like, bro, you really did fucked up, man. And that was like one of my favorite parts of the Andor season 2. Obviously the whole massacre in episode 9 was like was so huge as well. Like I said, it was probably like my favorite part of Andor season 2, just in general my favorite episode. But I really like what they did with Dietrich's boyfriend. Like he starts getting kind of pissed off and like paranoid what's going on, man. He straight like tries to strangle Dietrich, demanding her information what's going on there, man, about like what this energy plan is and all that. What's really going on here, man. I was like, oh shit, this dude's actually growing some balls. Okay, this is actually pretty crazy. And then after the massacre starts to begin, him and Andor finally meet, and he's like, right, and he's got a clear shot on Dietrich, but he goes in there, man, stops him, they tussle, and Andor ends up eventually shooting him and killing him. So that was pretty cool as well, man. I really like what they did with his character. I really like what they did with his character, man. He kind of went from like a pathetic bitch to actually like, okay, he actually got some balls to him, man, and he actually gets to do some pretty cool shit. So that was pretty cool as well. You got the whole thing with obviously, like, you got Luthen dying as one episode 9 or 10 rather, which that was basically that whole episode might have just been like Luthen. Like that whole like Andor didn't show up once. It was literally just Luthen as he like during his final moments when he like finally gets to meet it with Dietrich, and oh my god, man, bro, that whole conversation that he has with Dietrich, man, was so fucking awesome, man. I'm sure a lot of us were kind of waiting to see if Dietrich and Luthen would interact, man. We got this scene, man, when these two finally are like talking in his little like antique shop he got going on there, man, his little museum. Or his exhibit rather. That was such a hype sequence, man, before what's going on there, before he like kills himself to make sure he doesn't leave, so that she'll never learn the details of the rebellion. It was such a hype moment, and we get some backstory on Luthen, how he met his like assistant / daughter, where they actually did go and de-age him as well, though it looks like he kept his voice the same. Not that I'm complaining, he has a great voice. But that was really cool, man. I loved how they did the opening introduction of it, where I don't know if this dude was part of like some early version of the rebellion. He was an Imperial at this point, man. The show literally tells you nothing. Like I said, I'm definitely gonna go check out Star Wars Explains video on these episodes whenever he drops them, just so I'm curious, like where the fuck we are, like what Luthen's doing. Like, is he part of the rebellion? Is this some early version of the rebellion? Was he an Imperial? Just some random scavenger or something? Like, what the fuck is he doing? What the hell's happening here? Because the show doesn't tell you at all about where it is, what he's wearing, or nothing. Anyway, and I loved how the whole thing was shot from her perspective when she snuck onto their ship, and we see her watching them through the vents, man. I thought it was shot beautifully, man, and I thought it was really cool, man. I also love the line where he says, "I lie, get used to it." that cracked me up, man. And then she goes in there, man, after, like, Deidre, man, to, like, to stabilize him, man. She sneaks into the hospital, man, and finishes the job and, like, takes off life support, basically, and, like, kills him. And, yeah, man, that was such an amazing hype moment for the show, man. And then eventually she's, like, taken in under arrest because she went on her own to try and find Luthen from the Imperials. Is interrogated by Orson, I believe. I don't know if that's how you pronounce the dude's name. I forget if that's actually how he's pronounced it. For another character from Rogue One, man. Love his cape, by the way, that he was wearing, man. Love that cape he's got going on. But anyway, he starts interrogating her, trying to figure out like how she knew about the Death Star, how she knows about the Death Star, and like who else knows about the plans of the Death Star, and all that. And I love the way this is shot with him like towering over her. I love the way this whole interrogation was framed. I love that, and I love this line. He says, "Has my reputation slipped so precipitously?" I have no what the fuck that means, but hey, it sounds cool. And then he then placed later on, he pushes his finger down on her head, and she's selling it like he's sucking out her soul. It was such a great scene, man. That was another one of the scenes I absolutely loved from Andor season 2 in the final episodes. We also actually got to see her in the prison world as well. I'm assuming the same prison world that the finale of Andor season 1 took place at. I'm assuming it's the same one because she's wearing the same outfit and the place looks about the same. So that was pretty cool to see that. So that was pretty cool to see that again. And then in episode 11, you got this whole thing with K2SO coming in clutch to save them from the Empire, man. Which I also thought was kind of cool. We got to see a new type of stormtrooper seemingly, where they have most of the armor on them, but without the helmet. Instead, they're wearing their normal Imperial caps, which I thought was interesting. I don't know if these guys have a name at all yet, but I thought it was interesting that we got to see a version of stormtroopers where they have the armor but not the helmet. I thought that was interesting. Obviously, and then you got the whole thing when Luthen learns about the Death Star plans from his source, man. The whole thing about the dude's he's begging for protection. He's who, tell me, do you trust? And it's this is definitely when the part where Luthen not trusting his guys is kind of starting to bite him in the ass, because he doesn't really trust Luthen. He's I'm not telling you till you'll guarantee me protection, get me off this planet or whatnot, get me off Coruscant. Oh, how could I forget? We gotta talk about Mon Mothma's speech. I literally just remember this. Mon Mothma's speech in episode, I want to say this was episode 9 as well. This might have been episode 10. It might have been, I think it would have been 9 or 10, I think. Whatever the case may be, that whole speech was incredible, man. I loved her speech, man. Who plays Mon Mothma again? Geneva O'Reilly, if I'm pronouncing her name right, man. She performed this beautifully, man. Such an incredible sequence where she says, that the true thing that we fear is Emperor Palpatine or whatever, he's our true enemy or whatnot, man. Such a great speech, man. Then Andor had to go in there and save her, and then Andor randomly just kills her driver. I think his name was Dan or something, and I'm bro, why'd you have to shoot Dan? It was such an amazing episode, man. That thing with Mon Mothma was great as well, man. I love that part of the episode as well. But anyway, as I was saying, in episode 11, they have to go rescue them from the Imperials, and K2SO comes in clutch and takes care of all the Imperial soldiers that were there. So that was pretty hype as well. K2SO, man, just stole the show, man, just like he did in Rogue One, man. He was so funny. But yeah, like I said before, Luthen his source is telling him about the Death Star plans. Eventually does tell me, he doesn't call I don't know if he actually calls it a Death Star, but he says they're building a super weapon, and all that jazz. Which we also know is a Death Star. And then we also see the dude actually get shot after Luthen, and I loved how it was shot and shown up when Luthen realizes oh shit, that what they've been building this entire time is the Death Star. And I thought it was the way Stellan Skarsgård portrayed when we see him going down the stairs, once it when he's starting to take in everything and take in what he just learned, what he just heard about them building the Death Star, man. I thought that was really well done, man. We see the dude got shot by a blaster. We don't know who shot him, if it was some Imperial that they were that was sent to assassinate him because he knew too much, or if Luthen himself shot him Luthen himself shot him. I'm not entirely sure, but I really liked that sequence in episode 11 as well, or episode 10 rather. That was pretty cool as well. And yeah, that's about everything I want to go in there, man. Though I will say it was pretty frustrating when we get to episode 12 and Andor's telling them about the Death Star. They're oh, this is just mindless speculation because Luthen is paranoid. What I'm bro, he's telling you about the Death Star. Why aren't you listening to him? He's giving you the Death Star to supply, warning you about it. But whatever the case may be. And yeah, that's about everything I want to talk about when it comes to Andor Season 2, man. This video is probably over 20 minutes again, which I'm getting kind of annoyed with all my reviews where these are going over 20 minutes, especially with how late it is, man. But yeah, man. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like, if you did, subscribe if you're new. Follow me if you feel like it. Links are across below, and subscribe for more. See you guys next time.